am Daniel.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Screen Smash, where people are talking over the host. My name is Dan Morse. Welcome. We're clearly having a good time this evening because of our special guest tonight. We have Dez Cleveland.
I think it's the first time anybody's ever used my nickname and my last name, so it sounds really off to me. But
do you want me to say Destiny?
No. You can say Dez. I just I've just never heard it before, which is weird. You would think I had, but
well, then I did a bad job by not.
You did not do a bad job. No, you didn't do a bad job.
I should have made sure.
No.
How would you like to be introduced?
Oh my god!
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. No, it's been great. Before I got here kind of early, I think, but it was great. Just talking to you guys.
Louis? Yes.
Louis, I did hear that you're notoriously late most of the time.
Oh, and not fashionably either.
No,
we're all good. We're good. But of course, we have Maria Kinnun. Hello. Louis Reza.
when he said people, I'm people.
I'm the people.
I talk over. I just shut up and saying stuff.
Shh. When I say I'm starting the show, that means we're starting the show, Louis.
We got in trouble.
It's all good.
I'm always in trouble.
We're having fun. That's all that matters here. That's all I care about. But anyways, welcome to Screen Smash, CouchSoup's video game podcast, which we may or may not actually talk about video games tonight because I'm more focused on our friend Dez and what she's got to share with us, which has to do with video games. So, Dez, to get us started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. So, about myself, I'm one of the marketing managers at Freedom Games Publishing. They've published games like Cormon, Symphony of War, Dark Deity, Dreamscaper, Cat Cafe Manager. I'm not going to go through the whole list because there's so many.
Fair.
This came out with Mail Time. So if you're into cozy, cute games, that got a lot of positive reviews and things like that. I am also one of the co-hosts over at Level 1, which is minority owned. And I love that because I just feel like there needs to be more of us out there talking about what we love and doing what we love. So a huge shout out to Fame and Baron, because that's how I met Dan. He came on to the episode,
yes.
episodes, and it was very gracious and invited me on here. I'm also a host at Black Voices in Gaming. So if you've seen me there, that's me talking to a lot of upcoming indie developers who are trying to just be seen and heard. And the reason why that was created is because of during 2020, when everything was going on, with George Floyd and all of that stuff. And there was just a lot of, how could I say, a lot of focus on the lack of representation that we have in the gaming industry and, industries across the board. They decided to create a showcase that really highlighted Black and brown people and what they're trying to do and accomplish and things like that. So that was really great. Love being a part of that because I feel like it's a positive impact on not just us, but having people see themselves in places that they didn't expect to see themselves. And yeah, that's perfect segue into what the show that I'm producing now, which is called Dames for Games, which is highlighting women in the gaming industry. And that will drop on, that's in partner with The Mix. We had some incredible sponsors, Kickstarter sponsoring us, which is super dope. I love those people. Freedom Games, because I work for them, not just because I work for them, but because they didn't have to do it, but they definitely helped seed the event. And then it's just going to be a platform where we talk to women who are either own their own studios, women who are technical artists, women who are journalists, just women who love to play games and women who are in the industry. And we also showcase some little girls and stuff too, who just tell us about their favorite games and things like that. So yeah, I've been a gamer probably since I was 3 or 4. My dad bought that. I'm aging myself. My dad bought us an Atari when we lived in Germany. And the first game I ever really played and loved was a Smurf game. It was basically what old MS Paint is.
Oh my
so
goodness.
You go in, you could decorate the Smurfs house. It looked terrible, but back then graphics,
It was the pinnacle of technology.
It was the pinnacle of technology back then. So, that was my first, journey into gaming, and here I am now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And all of those things are why you're here today, because all of those things are why. I mean, I contacted Level 1. I've got in touch with Baron and Fame over there. I love those guys. It was a great privilege to be on their show, as well as having Baron on our show. We had a blast with him. And then after I got to meet you on their show, I was like, yes, I need Dez on my show, because everything you're doing is something that I want to promote with this show, with this platform that I have. I'm a big supporter of, positive voices across the board. After I heard about all the things you were involved in, I was like, I need to get you on the show. I need to get you out there to help in any way we can. So thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing everything with us.
Absolutely. The more that we can get out there, the more that people are talking about it, the bigger change we can make. Right. So we have to expand outside of our circles. And I've always been a huge advocate for diversity and inclusion on all platforms, wherever I'm working, whether it's in the game industry, whether it's in the movie industry, just because we should all be represented. And it's kind of weird that we have to fight for that. So.
It's also as well with the Dames for Games thing. A lot of women don't feel like they have a chance to get into gaming because they don't see other girls in gaming. It's very much very male dominated. I myself are breaking into getting into gaming and stuff. So it's really cool. That's something that I can get behind, where I'm like, yeah, there should be more girls in gaming, because
absolutely. And there are a lot of women in gaming. You just don't see them, which is
I know a bunch.
I can only imagine with the negative stereotypes that already exist within gaming towards women in general. I can't imagine the negativity that women face when it comes to actually working in games. Yeah. Let alone playing games.
Well, I mean, I'm not good at looking enough to get dick pics sent to me when I'm streaming, but
listen,
I think you're plenty qualified
I think
to get
you're
yourself some dick pics. So.
I know.
You're a woman, Maria. That's all that matters.
Literally, if you didn't show yourself, some people don't care. I'll give you an example. So I used to play this virtual thing, virtual world called Second Life, which I thought was really cool. I'm such a nerd because I read about it.
Second Life. Oof.
Yeah, I read about it in a science.
Know what Second Life is? Watch the episode of The Office where Dwight was playing Second Life.
I think there's something in there, and then they actually had I think it was on CSI once, where somebody was actually contacting people through the game and murdering them or something like that. I can't remember if it was it was one of those cop shows. But anyways. So I read about it in a science magazine, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And at the time I was doing a lot of digital art, and I was like, oh, what if I set up a little exhibition in the world, which I did actually. And we raised $500 for, I forgot what they were called. This was a while ago, but they basically build wells in Africa. So for places that are underprivileged. And so we did a whole thing with them and connected with artists that were offline, and it was a whole thing, but it was a while ago. Anyway, so I wanted to work through there as a different platform to do things like that. And one of the things that I realized is that I had a lot of friends on there. There's a huge furry, what's the word that I'm looking for? Not group, community on there, right? They don't care what you are. They don't care how you look. You will get all kinds of things sent to you no matter what.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
I'm just don't put yourself down, because girl, listen, as soon as you say I don't get them, you will start getting flooded with them.
Yeah, we're trying to tell her. Don't. Maria is very much a hold my beer kind of a person, and this is not that fucking time, Maria. No, this is not something you want to win.
No,
it's a bad win.
No, you don't. You don't.
I'd Photoshop them and then post them on Twitter from the people that sent me and be like, hey, we're going to evaluate them.
I only realized that you could post stuff like that on Twitter. I did not know that, because you can't do that on Facebook.
And my friend porn on Twitter.
Yeah, I didn't know though. I'm so not hip, I guess. I don't know.
It's on Twitter, you said?
Yes, on Twitter. If you want to look up something specific, this is how I found out. My friend was like, hey, look at the Lola Bunny challenge. And I literally thought it was going to be people like in cosplay or people like drawing,
Lola Bunny from
like
Space
a drawing
Jam?
challenge. Yeah, from Space Jam.
Innocent enough.
Don't look it up if you don't want to see graphic stuff. But I will tell you, I was shocked. And I was like, oh my God, like, does Twitter know that this is on here? Because there were so many people.
I don't think they care.
But I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, that brings up a funny point to me that like the fact that OnlyFans was not supposed to be at all a porn site is just like, hey, artists who want to sell stuff, here's a platform that you could do that. Okay. And immediately everyone was just like, I'm gonna sell nudes, and they were like shocked that this was what happened. I feel bad for them because you could just see that they were probably like, all right, we're going to give all these wonderful artists a new place so that they could just flourish. And then that didn't happen. And immediately they were like, yeah. And then they were like, okay, we're going to, instead, we're going to make all the porn illegal. You can still sell other stuff, but we're not going to do nudes. And everybody completely just attacked them for like they lasted about a week. It's the same thing when Playboy Tumblr was like, we're not going to do, yeah.
But it's so stupid. You don't have to turn everything pornographic. And it's literally, and I hate to say this because it's the majority of it is men who like over sexualize everything. Like artists actually do draw nudes. So like I can see people posting like nudes for like sketching and things like that. But then like once people start sexualizing it, then it's just unnecessary. You don't have to fucking do that.
That's how it started. That's exactly how it started, was that it was like, okay, we can't say no to nudes because some art, that's what it is. And we're not going to be that kind of a platform. So again, it started out so innocently and then just fucking barrel rolled into this giant. Yeah.
You say
you say you don't have to sexualize everything. Now that's the internet's turn to go hold my beer.
That's true. And I understand that. Like people literally sexualize Lilo and Stitch. I get that. But that's my point. Like it's just unnecessary.
But bringing it back to gaming, it's nice to have it's nice for women to have the support of not being harassed during playing games. Like, I don't stream that much, so I don't really get that as a problem. I do have friends that do get harassed because as soon as they're known as being a girl, they are harassed by guys online and stuff like that. And so it's just like having the, Dame for Games things, having that support system and being like, no, that's, having just other people knowing other girls are playing games can be enough to just feel like they have a strength in numbers type thing.
Playing games, making games, having, some background in games, like girls game. It's a thing. Yeah. Get used to it.
We do.
Yeah,
but I mean, I totally agree with everything you're saying. Sorry, my brain was still stuck on the last conversation, but absolutely. Yeah. And that is the reason why I created it. The thing is that I think a lot of people who don't understand the show and why it's being created is they feel like, oh, it's more segregation and it's things like that. But the best way I can explain it is walking into a room and seeing nobody else you can relate to. And if you walk into a room and you see that, whether that be like somebody that looks like you, somebody who shares the same gender as you, like we do need that. Like as human beings, like we like to feel that connection. So it's not so much about like segregating or making something for this. It's literally because we don't see enough of it that we feel we need to make a place so that we can get to that point where we don't need to make a Dames for Games anymore, because now it's just normal for women to be seen and heard, and their contributions are just as well known as like men in the industry. So until that happens, we're going to continue to have these kind of conversations. Same with Black voices in gaming. Until that happens, we're going to continue having these kinds of conversations.
And I would say, not to detract from what it is you're doing, but also, trans, the whole LGBTQ,
Absolutely.
Any race, any gender, anyone and everyone. They're out there. Everyone has and deserves the ability to be represented. And I hate the negativity. I hate the toxicity. And that's, like I said, this is something that I wanted to do with this show to help promote all of it. So this is just the starting point of hopefully building on that trend, what you're trying to do, establish that kind of normalize this kind of everything, anything. This should be normal. It's not for whatever reason, but it is.
Right. It should no longer be an exception. We should no longer be surprised, and we shouldn't be hearing the first person to do this, blah, 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 when we've had the ability to do it all along. And I love that we're part of like the gaming live events. Like Freedom has been a part of that, and like they're very supportive, obviously, of the LGBTQ plus community. There's just so many things that we should be supporting that we need to get behind. And I feel like the gaming industry is young enough that they can start it off right and not kind of like do the same thing that a lot of other older industries have done. So I feel the indie game developers are really trying to encompass that and be more open. And so hopefully AAA studios start to follow. So it looks like they are, like baby steps, but more. I want to see more.
There was an interesting conversation that I saw that somebody was saying that like some communities are talking about how it's a bad thing that, like, for example, Axe body spray, their commercials were some of the first ones to like really show people like trans people or other people just kind of like wearing the stuff. Like, it doesn't matter if you want to smell good, you think our stuff smells good, fucking wear it. We don't care who it is. We don't care if you're a man, woman, who cares? We're all the same. We just want to smell nice. And then a lot of people were talking about how, like things are getting woke and everything like that. But the conversation of it is it bad that these things are being promoted? Or is it good that these companies that are out to make money are recognizing it's more money if you're including a lot more people, if you're being more inclusive of all these different types of people, these sexual orientations, whatever. And I would argue that, it's good because even they're recognizing there's so many people of all different shapes, colors, sizes, whatever. And you should probably try to get all of their money. That's fine.
All of their money.
If we have to look at Axe and Pepsi to be the fort runners, I'm cool with that. Now we even got fucking Budweiser or Bud Light anyway. That like all the people got all pissed off at the last commercial. I'm like, who cares? Drink and get drunk, you idiots. All right, done.
And also as well, it's like, do you enjoy the product? Does it matter who it's made by in the end?
People
like
can't.
the product.
Yeah,
it's
people just emotionally and mentally cannot enjoy it if they know somebody. I mean, and you'll have those people, and there will always be those types of people. And I think if we take like the money aspect out of it, like they're doing it for the money. Like, of course they're doing it for the money. They're a company. Like that's what they're supposed to be doing for. But if it's got a bigger influence, do you know what I mean? Because like all these kids, even us today, even older people, like they're constantly watching TV. They're constantly influenced by what's in like multimedia. If it's sending the right message, I don't care how much money they're making.
And that's my point too. That's where some of these people were talking about is it's kind of a bad thing because they're just trying to get money out of it. I don't care. It's still showing
they're there to make money.
Yeah.
Exactly. But like the science is behind it. The money is behind it. Everything is behind diversity. Whether you want to be selfish or you want to look at trying to be, philanthropic, however it is that you look at it, all things identify that the more diversity you accept, the better it is for humanity as a whole. It's better for the children and their mindset, and it's better for the money because everyone agrees that it's fine to have. It's Absolutely. So stupid that anybody would argue against it.
I mean, having like diversity as well in creativity, like there's so many different ideas from different cultures, and just if you just go, only white people can make games, it's going to be the most boring shit ever. It's like you want people to bring their cultures and ideas, and you want like the Japanese influence, the black influence, and stuff like you want.
That's
that
how
in
you
games,
get better products. Like it's competition. Yeah. Competition in the industry is good, and like. A moment ago, if you saw me making a bunch of faces, is because my brain started to connect the dots of how this relates to the toxicity in the gaming culture of when companies put their games on other platforms and they're like, how dare you? That's mine. And it's like, they want to make money.
It's a game.
They're going to sell it wherever they can.
Yeah.
Like the sense of ownership that people get for products
Yeah, no, I get that. There is a right way and a wrong way to do those things, though. So, like, even though, like, we're all like, yeah, you should do it, there are ways that you can do it, which is disingenuous. And I think that, like, if you are going to do that and you are going to make money from it, that you need to do your research. So, like, for like Juneteenth and things like that, when everybody jumps on the bandwagon for that, but they don't actually put any education into like what it means or why it's important. That always bothers, because that doesn't really take much more. You know, if you're already making the products, then just take that extra step. And I know this is like an unpopular opinion, and I know I'm going to get a bunch of boos for people who love The Little Mermaid, but I actually don't like that. I don't like when they just take a character and just change the race just to fit and try to appease something. It's like there's so many stories out there.
Disingenuous.
Yeah, there are so many stories out there that you can use to create a new story. You don't have to take a story and then just change the character to be Black just to try to like fit some sort of agenda like that. I don't like that. And I know a lot of people are like, my little girl saw The Little Mermaid for the first time and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's great. That's great. We could have done another story about a mermaid that was Black, and it didn't have to be The Little Mermaid. But the thing is that in 5 years, they're never going to change out Ariel. Do you know what I'm saying? Ariel is always going to be the 16 redheaded girl. This is only trending for a little bit. It's never going to be like commonplace.
Not so make a princess. Children don't identify with color.
Yes.
Like adults do. The little girl doesn't care what color. To be fair,
in Black communities, they absolutely do, because we're taught from a really young age that our color affects like how people see us. Like I remember my dad telling me things like, and my mom telling me things when I was really, really little that I just didn't understand because they brought us to the South and I didn't quite get it. Like I won homecoming queen, and I remember in a very small town in Tennessee.
That's just it. That's a learned behavior though in children.
It is a learned behavior in children. And it wasn't the children who were upset. It was the parents who were upset. Right. Yeah. So and to be just realistic, even as a child, you're going to meet adults that mistreat you and you won't understand. So that's the reason why. And I don't know how it is in other households of other like different ethnicities, but I know the majority of my friends who identify as African American or Black, they were taught that, because out in this world, you just don't know. And you see those things, right? Like watching Roots. I don't know if you guys ever saw Roots, maybe not.
Long time ago.
Yeah. That was like a staple.
I never recovered.
Sad. But that was like a staple of like learning, like, you know, that you come from slavery, and you never really forget it, you know, even if they try to gloss it over. And you're constantly reminded by the way that you're treated, by the way that people say things on TV and things like that. But just to bring that back around, that's why it's so important to have diversity across all platforms, right? Including the LGBTQ plus, and even within those groups, we have to get along. Like Black people need to get along, and like people in the gay community need to get along, because I've learned so much that like even they're having issues, and it's like if we can't get together, then it's going to be harder for us to like show like a solid force towards the people who are trying to break us down, right? Break us all down. So
I want to piggyback on that for just a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was a thing that apparently I never saw this myself, but I had heard from a couple of people that when Lin-Manuel Miranda's I can't remember what musical it was. It's pretty new. It's
the one in New York, the Bronx or Brooklyn or something like that.
Yeah.
People were upset about that. Yeah.
And apparently there was a lot of Black communities that were coming after him and telling him like, you should have more of the representation. He was like, but this is about these guys. This is about the Cubans.
The issue there is that it wasn't just the Black community. It was Afro-Latinos and Afro-Latinas that came after him, because
that is not what I heard. And I'm so happy that you know that.
That is what that was. It wasn't Black people. It was Afro-Latinos and Afro-Latinas who were like, basically it was very, it reeked of colorism. And that was the problem, because you have darker skin people who are from that diaspora, and he did not show any of those people. He actually apologized because he did not show any of those people. So that's what happened there. I'd be on it.
All right. In that vein, though, I'm going to give a little bit of pushback on Little Mermaid. Have you seen it yet?
No, and I don't know if I'm going to see it.
I just got back from it. My mom treated the whole family, and I had no aspiration to watch it, but I just got back from it. There's a lot of representation for Jamaicans. That's part of the reason why she's Black, and that's why there's a lot of Black people in it. The weird thing is they didn't do any version of color for Eric, which is really bad because it's like out of nowhere, Black mom and white guy, blue eyes, really, 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 really fucking white. And yeah, I was reading an article that even the creators of the movie, they were like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done that. We're like, yeah, you think? Like, it's like Black people, Black representation, Black music, everything, Black, white guy. You still aren't getting it. That's where I think is the biggest problem. Because like when Poseidon or whichever, I forget the dad, when he has all his daughters, they're from all four oceans, and each one of them is of that nationality. And so when you have Ariel, she's here, in Jamaican Islands, and so she's Black. But they still fucked it up with Eric. That's a huge oversight. That's the whole other half of the film. And they're like, we still did good, right? It's like, no,
right.
No, you didn't.
And I literally think that's because, and I'm going to give a little pushback. We don't need them to make another Ariel and then decide to add different aspects of Blackness to it. Like there are tons of stories in Jamaica. There are tons of stories all over the world that you can take and make a new story about it. We don't need you to do that. So like at the same time where I understand people are happy to see it, and people like, this is what I want other people to understand. People are happy to see it because they've never seen it, and because it's not seen very often, and because Disney doesn't do it. The last time they did a movie that featured a Black princess was The Princess Frog, and she was a frog for about 80% of the fucking movie. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, it's like, I personally just have a huge issue with it because I know there's so much more that Disney can do, and they have the money to do it, and they're lazy. Yeah. And then they put out this shit, and then people are like, it was so great. Oh my God, did you think she's Black now and she has dreads? And it's like, is that really all it takes to appease you? Because if they see that that's all it takes to appease you, then they don't ever have to really, they don't ever really have to do what they need to do to properly represent people.
It's kind of like Disney's breadcrumbs from the table. It's kind of like, all right, you happy now? We tried.
Yeah. So them saying like, oh, it was a huge oversight. It wasn't a fucking oversight. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if nobody had said anything, they wouldn't have said it was an oversight. If everybody had been like, oh, we loved it, they wouldn't have said anything about it. People are literally upset because of the casting of the remake. And also, I'm tired of the remakes, but of Lilo and Stitch, because of the colorism within that. They don't look anything like the original characters and there's so many, there's no way you cannot tell me that there are not people out there that probably look the part and have the talent to take on those roles. And Disney's been known.
I'm afraid to look at any production photos of Lilo and Stitch because I know I'll hate it. I'll hate it.
I saw that one and I was like, done. I don't
Little girl is really cute, but like everything else, it's like you guys could have done a better job than that. And then I guess the guy that they originally had as the boyfriend or whatever, I can't remember his name. They fired him because he had something racist that people found about him, like that he said and on his TikTok or something. And they fired him and replaced him with somebody else. But I just don't understand who's casting these roles. Like, did you watch the original cartoon? Like, what is happening? You know? Ouch. So, yeah.
Well, that's, I mean, if we're criticizing also the old cartoons, we don't want that anymore. We want something that is brand new. For one, I don't mind a remake because it's not for me. It's for the new generation. Like if I get pissed off that it's not the same story that I already exists, my niece is not going to see it. Not the way that I did. She's not going to have the same kind of feel for it. So I don't necessarily mind it. What I mind is that they're just putting a new coat of paint. They're adding a few people of color and then going, look, it's better now.
Yeah.
If you're going to redo it, give me like Cruella. That's a fucking great remake where it has nothing to do with the original. I don't care that she's not a villain anymore. I like the fact that she actually came out. She's on top. It's about, you know, the adversity effect of a woman from nothing coming up to being something, going up against all the odds. I liked that. I do not like.
Would you say that Cruella was for kids though? See, I wouldn't say it was for kids. But see, if you bring like young children, right? Yeah. Like the movies that you're looking for that you want to see are not for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like going back and saying like, when I said, did they watch the original cartoon? I don't mean for like the story. I mean for the actual look and to keep it ethnic. Like the Hawaiians should look like they're from Hawaii. And if your kids are going to watch that, then they should. I necessarily don't see anything wrong with the Lilo and Stitch story. I thought it was really great. I still think it holds up today. Its main focus was that family is important and you don't leave anybody behind. And then I feel like when they do those sorts of movies, like they did Brave, they really do a lot of research when they do them. It is really the live action that, like you said, they bring over, they slap a few different things on it and they're like, oh, okay, this is brand new. And like, we're like being inclusive. And it's like, no, you're not. You're still telling the same old stories you were telling. If you truly want to be inclusive, pick other societies, other cultures, research them and tell those stories. Bring people from over there. I am sure that there are a ton of people in Africa, all over that continent, who would love to work for Disney and have them tell a story about their culture. Like, do that. You have the money to do it. Do it. And Mulan was just a whole mess. You know what I'm saying? It's stop whitewashing stories.
Yeah.
Aren't they doing not what am I thinking of? Moana too? Isn't Moana getting a live action?
I probably all are at this point.
I have not heard anything about that.
Dwayne Johnson was actually going to play Maui in the Moana remake.
Yeah. I did see that. I don't know how true that is because he has a huge controversy going on right now and they might drop him. But yeah, let's just keep it. If you can do it for the animation, if you could put all that research and heart into the animation,
why not do it for the
live action, right? And like tell more stories from different cultures. I would love to see stories from like Korea because it's not the same. We can't just be like, oh, there's an Asian person in the movie, so it encompasses all of Asia. Like, look, we can be better. That's all I have to say. We can be better.
What would you think if? Because now that you're mentioning it, now I'm thinking about Little Mermaid. I literally got out, came here. That was it. So with this new mode of digestion, I'm kind of thinking, all right, they really. Okay, so like I said, there was a lot more Jamaican representation by showing a bunch of black people playing Jamaican instruments. And I'm like, they kind of dropped the ball on that one too. What would you think if it was more based about Jamaican culture, but it is still the Little Mermaid, basically beat for beat, but it was based a little bit more and giving more credence to that?
I think if they took a Jamaican story and they were able to incorporate a mermaid, if that's what you're saying, that's perfectly okay.
No, I mean the Little Mermaid, but putting it
Jamaica-fied.
I mean like kind of, but I mean like the same story beat for beat. Mermaid with the dad.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely possible. But then like if you do it, like don't just have Jamaican people in it and assume that's going to be
That's my point. Is that like really, really because I mean, like there's a few things. There's some really good music.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That makes me want to ask you guys: have you ever seen Ponyo?
Yes.
Okay, so Ponyo is the Little Mermaid.
Yes.
But retold from a different perspective with different characters, but it's still the same story.
It's the same story. Right? It's Ghibli.
Yeah,
but you wouldn't necessarily say that there was like any sort of like ethnicity compared to other than the place that it takes place in. Right. So, but like, yeah, I think they could absolutely do that, but they would just have to respect the culture and it would need to make sense.
Right. Because like, again, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, all right. So they didn't really hit any of those marks.
No, they just put
it's just kind of like a type of cultural, ethnical.
Yeah.
All they really did was just kind of make it more meaningful why Sebastian has an accent. And there you go. I'm kind of like, God damn it. All right.
I mean, I would much rather see stories from different cultures, to be honest, because it's like I don't like the whole this is the Little Mermaid white version and the black version.
Exactly, that's weird.
It's weird because it's just like it is just this black version. It's like I would rather see African stories told by African actors. I find it more interesting because I like culture. I like seeing things. And so I personally, I see a lot of shows when they do some of these remakes on Netflix and stuff. And it's kind of like, oh, we've changed the race of this character and stuff. And it's like, that's cool. But why not give them their own character? Why are you changing one of the characters from Scooby-Doo into a black character or something? Give them their own show. Give them their own thing, not the black version of it. It's like...
And we know that this works. Yeah, no, we know that this works because, I mean, there's a lot of examples for, Latin representation right now in Disney, and it is full Latin, like Encanto. What's the one with the Land of the Dead?
Coco.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, Coco, but I was also thinking of the other one.
The other one.
There was two that came out like in the same month.
Guillermo del Toro movie.
No. This was also a Disney.
Were they both Disney, or were there two movies that were on those?
They were both. No, they were both Disney. There was Encanto, and then there was this other one.
Guillermo del Toro had Coco, an animated movie about like Day of the Dead 2 or something.
He's got like 20 of them.
He has a bunch of movies.
But I'm just saying that, like, we know, like, what your point is completely sound because we know that this works. Those movies have done great. They continue to do very, very well. Even if you look, I mean, it's still white people, but it's amazing the amount of Frozen that is very much based on that culture. They even have the Christmas episode that is based around the Christmas,
which was really, really cool, right?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just like, and I want people to understand. I have nothing against like white stories, like. I grew up watching them, like some of them, like some of the old, like Little Mermaid's one of my favorite Disney movies. I absolutely love it. Like it was the first Disney movie my dad ever got me. But my point is that like, we just need more and we know you can do it. Like you were saying, Encanto, Red, which was incredible, right?
That was great. God, that was a good one.
so good. And
Big
it's
Hero
like,
6.
Big Hero 6. Okay, to be fair, I did not finish it because I got really tired of Disney killing off characters. And as soon as the brother died, I just stopped playing it and I have not come back to watch it.
They pulled another Up on you. Like,
I was just like, Up was so sad. I don't think that movie never recovered after the first 10 minutes. Like nothing else that happened in that movie, I gave a shit about. I did not care about anything. I was just like, but she didn't get to go on the trip and she didn't get to have kids. And there was so much that she wanted to do that like she was the life of her partner, of the old guy. And then at the end, he's like, I guess I'll do it for you. And even then I was upset. I was just angry.
It's kind of hard to laugh about it after you go through that traumatic 10 minutes and you're like, well, I'm bummed out.
And then the guy that she looked up to, the traveler guy, was a complete dick. So I was just like, damn. I watched Up once and I will never watch it. It is my least favorite Pixar movie. Yeah. Next to Cars, because I just think Cars is stupid.
Cars didn't make me feel. All the other ones made me feel. Cars I never.
It's like holding a
Cars is pretty
made me feel.
Because you're ruining my film. No, actually, you're not. I'm kind of like,
sorry.
No, this is the kind of conversation that I crave, actually. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So if I push back, where are you going to go with it? What? Let's do this. I'm having so much fun. Anyway.
I mean, I'm going to say, bringing it back to gaming.
We're not done yet. So more racism.
Shut up. No, talking about, diversity in gaming. One of the best, like, the Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Yes.
Fucking phenomenal.
That was incredible.
He was his own character. He wasn't Spider-Man. He wasn't Peter Parker. He was Miles Morales. He was his own character.
And that's the way to do it. Yeah. That is the exact way to do it. Yeah. Like, and what I loved about that is that like you do experience his culture through his parents, through his family, through where he lives. It's not just Peter Parker and we decided to make him black,
Right.
Yeah. And that's another reason why Black Panther was so important, because it was its own character standing on its own values and you got to learn. Now, to be fair, Wakanda is not a real country. And I know some of out there has been asking people like, oh, are you from Wakanda? Like literally people don't understand that it is not a real country. But that just shows how much detail and research they did for people to believe that it's actually a place. I mean, like there are some people who are just dumb, but still they did an incredible job. And I love that you brought that up.
That makes me think of
sorry, go
ahead. Coming to America.
Okay, when I was little, I thought that was a real place, but I was little,
right? It's not a real place.
It's not a real place, but I definitely thought that was a real place.
Right.
I mean, you can't think of that movie without yes, fuck you too. Anyway, I had the incredible.
That's not what I think of. I think of the bat scene every time.
Oh well, I had the wonderful privilege of sitting next to. It pissed off my cousin who was next to me over here, but on this side was this black woman that. Like the movie's about to start and you could just see she's beside herself. She's literally just going, and she goes, do you mind if I tell you little facts throughout the movie? I'm like, yes, I obviously am the biggest nerd alive.
Hit me.
I'm like, everything you know, fucking just spill it out. She's like, I'm sorry. I'm so excited. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You could not have chosen a better person to sit next to. And so she was telling me every little minute detail of all the color representation and the this and the sun. And I'm just like soaking it all in. And my cousin is going, why don't you just tell her to shut the fuck up? I'm like, no, you shut up. You don't know. Like, that was one of the best experiences for me. And so now whenever I watch it with other people, I'm like, so this part, I'm living vicariously.
I love that.
It was so much fun. I love that kind of shit. Yeah.
I saw it in Korea because the first one in Korea, it was like a special showing. It was before anybody else could see it. And it's because they filmed some of it in Busan. So they did a special showing in like Seoul and Busan. And it was a really emotional thing for me because I was the only Black person in the entire theater. And I went with my coworkers who were white, and they're incredible. Shout out to Cody and Sarah. But I went with them, and I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you see something or you experience something and then you don't have anyone to share it with, or you know the people that are around you don't understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think that was the first time that I had ever like truly felt alone in understanding what was going on and what they were trying to say with this movie. The other people, it would just go over their heads, and it made me so incredibly sad. Because I felt like it was so well done, but people were just entertained by it without really understanding the nuances of everything that was happening. So I love that lady sat beside you. And I love that she explained all those things and pointed things out to you, because I think that's really, really important. Not only are we making these games and these movies, not only do we have Miles Morales, but like we need to be able to express why that's so important and why, you know, because there are a lot of people who are like, they look at the word woke and they just get extremely upset because they don't understand like what it means to be woke, right?
The word's been misappropriated so much.
It has been so misappropriated, thanks to DeSantis, that idiot. But it's just understand. Woke just means being awake to knowledge and being open to accepting knowledge that you may not have realized. And it doesn't mean that because you're stupid or because you don't want to know. It's because if you don't know to ask the question, you won't ask those questions. So being open to that knowledge and receiving that knowledge is just really, really important. And bringing it back to gaming, that's exactly what we try to talk about when we have these showcases and these platforms, is you have these people creating these stories from different perspectives. And it's important to get those different perspectives, whether it's in games, movies, or just in life, right? There's no woke agenda. It's just that we want you to see us because we're here too. And when I say that, I'm talking about people of color. I'm talking about women. I'm talking about the LGBTQ plus community. Why shouldn't we be in games? Why shouldn't more of us be in movies? We're in everyday life. It's an experience that like everybody should be aware of. If you want to close yourself off to it, I mean, by all means do that. But I hate to tell you, Black people and people of color have been around since the beginning of time. LGBTQ plus people have been around since the beginning of time. Women have been around since the beginning of time. Get used to it.
Like this shit, actually.
Yeah. This whole agenda of like not wanting us to be a part of shit is stupid. Right on.
I mean, I'm kind of hard pressed to think that the first people to exist were, you know,
That's what scientists told us, but I'm not trying to get on anybody's bad side. But it doesn't even matter.
No, get on the bad side. It's fine. We're here.
It's like
you're on our good side. Keep going.
Thank you. We're all here. I've never understood the point of like sexism and racism and just being in somebody else's business. And I don't understand it. I really don't.
It's the closed-mindedness. Like you said, it's about being open-minded. As a person who's been playing video games as long as I have it, like since I was a kid, and like nothing hits me harder than stories that are just new and insightful and meaningful. And like some of my favorite experiences and most like deep, impactful experiences I've had, whether it's games or movies, but most specifically games, because that's what I tend to spend my time in, are stories about cultures that I don't know, or genders or colors that I don't know, that I'm unfamiliar with. Like hell, I can remember playing Tomb Raider, the reboot, the first time, and actually feeling the terror that Lara Croft felt being powerless against these terrifying thugs, these dangerous men. And like that first scene where she almost kind of gets raped, and you're like, oh my God, this is awful. Like you wouldn't get that otherwise. And I love games that help me experience other cultures. I love a lot of like Asian culture games, especially like Journey to the West. Journey to the West is one of my favorite stories. And a lot of people don't understand how far spread Journey to the West actually is. I could be saying this right now, and you've watched something that has to do with the Journey to the West and don't even know it. Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z is a retelling of Journey to the West.
Literally.
Yeah.
Right down to the way that the characters look and the weapons that they use.
Goku's pole, the staff that extends.
Yeah, he's literally the monkey god. He has a goddamn tail.
Like, on the Nimbus cloud. Yeah. But that's it. But people just don't know that. So, and a lot of people will not actively go out to research those things, which is why it's important to put them in games and movies and TV. And, there are still some people who have been like, oh, I've never met a gay man before, or I've never met a trans person, or I've never met a Black person before. And the fact that there are areas where people can say that means like, yeah, but you know who they are. And the reason why they know who they are is because of social media, because of, everything that happens on TV and in multimedia. So we just got to keep pushing. And while we're pushing, we have to make sure they're representing us in the correct way. So
I get asked also, so many things that way. Right?
Oh my God, that was funny.
I was just thinking as well, like people from like different cultures, especially like I know white people, Black people. A lot. I find sometimes it's hard to ask questions. People feel like they're going to offend the other culture if they ask. Like having honest conversations, like we're having honest conversations, and you're telling us your opinion about Little Mermaid and all this sort of stuff. But from my perspective, I would be like, yeah, it was great. Because to me, I'm kind of like, I don't want to seem like I'm disrespecting it, because I don't want to take it away from, the Black culture and stuff like that. But it's like being able to have honest conversations about how it is from the other people's point of views as well is important. To have open conversation where people are not going to get offended about everything you talk about. As long as you have to be respectful, but it's important to have those conversations, because then you see, like, this conversation, I've never spoken to a person of color about Little Mermaid before, but hearing from your perspective where you're like, it's not good enough. It's a step in the right direction, but it's not good enough. And so that's why people have to talk to each other. That's why we do have to, get these opinions to go, okay, well, how can we move really in the real proper direction?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I love that you said that. And that really is important. And I think those conversations need to be had. And I really feel like those conversations need to be had with the people who are in power. And they really need to be open to listening to those conversations. It's different where you have, because you literally have some people out there who are freedom fighters, and they want to do the right thing. And I understand that they want to do the right thing and what they're trying to fight for. But for example, me not being part of the LGBTQ plus community, I would not feel comfortable trying to represent them. I can be an ally, but I should not be the representative of that entire group. Right. But you have people out there who haven't grown up Black or who haven't grown up Mexican or who haven't grown up in that community. And they take on that role as being the voice for it. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I get what you're trying to do. And I really appreciate that. Like, you're trying to ally us, but you need to take a sit back, you know, and let the people who have experienced this and let the people who have these stories be the ones. Like, if you have the money and the basically the ability to create that platform, let them take the front center stage and let them talk about it. And I think that's what's happening with this Little Mermaid movie. When you look at the casting director, when you look at some of the people who or the major players in making this movie, they weren't Jamaican.
No, they're not.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, if you're going to tell a story and you want to incorporate Jamaican, you know, culture into it, you need to bring, not just sending people over there to research what Jamaica is like, bringing in Jamaican people to actually have a say in how you're going to represent them, right? We can't just have Jamaican music, but like, we don't understand the culture of it. And that's kind of what, and I get that it's a fantasy. So a lot of people are going to be like, it's a fantasy, blah, blah, blah. But you're taking aspects of real cultures and putting it into your fantasy. So if you're going to do that, you need to do it the correct way. Yeah. And that's how I felt about, what was it? Fantastic Four, when they turned, what's his name? Oh my God, the one who burns. Michael B. Jordan. Yeah. All of a sudden they made him Black, which didn't make any sense to me because him and what's her name are brother and sister. So. And then I was like, if you're going to do that, if you're going to make him Black, then that needs to come with everything else that comes with being a Black man in that reality. Right. So like it didn't make sense to me because all they did was like change the color of him without any of like the aspect of why his character would be the way his character was. Because I guarantee you, if he had been born Black and his character had been Black all the way up to the point that he wouldn't be the same character. Like, it's just different. And I think what's important about that, and people forget, is when they created those comic characters, they really did take that into account because it was during the civil rights movement. It was during the Jim Crow era that they were creating these characters. Like, you literally have like people comparing, because they did, but Magneto and Professor X as like Malcolm X and, you know, Martin Luther King. And that's because they were kind of on the polar opposites. And they did take influence from that. So it's like comics are basically a reflection of what's going on in that time and era. So you can't take characters like that and not think about those things, right? I think they did an incredible job to have done Black Panther, but I also think Disney did a good job by having Black people create it. I think that was really, really important. And I think for Miles Morales, you can tell that there are people who are from that diversity coming in and giving them like insight on how Miles's mom should talk to him, how his dad should, how their family is, you know, like the culture of their family. All of those things are very, very important when you're telling a story. And if you miss those things, it just does not click well. So if you're going to make The Little Mermaid, it's for kids. But for somebody for like me, who expects much more coming from you, I'm not going to be satisfied with it because I'm going to see the things that you missed.
Yeah. Preach, sister.
Sorry, I know I talked a lot.
It's good. It's good.
These things are very, very important to me.
There's a reason why I am talking as little as possible right now, but it's all good.
There was one little thing that I kind of thought about that. It's not the question that you asked earlier, where you were saying that like it's kind of opposite. Where you were saying, was there ever a point that you noticed nobody else could identify with what you identified with? Opposite effect was the Academy Awards, where, you know, the slap. But before that, there was this one moment. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that part. Before that, there was this one moment that we one of the organizations that I work with here in El Paso, they rented out an entire auditorium. Jesus Christ. Auditorium. Thank you for the Oscars. So we went to a theater, and it was, you know, all the money went to charity, and we all saw the Oscars on the big screen, and we had, you know, food delivered to us and everything like that. It was amazing. And it was one of the songs from Encanto. And although it's not the type of Mexican I am, not even Mexican at all, it's Cuban, there was a moment that for me, I kind of realized, okay, we made it. We are recognized by the Academy, which is notorious for not recognizing many people. And I started crying, and I'm looking, at these other people, everyone that I was there with, they were all friends of mine. We're all activists, and none of them could understand what I was thinking. And I'm just like, this was the first moment that I realized, like, we made it. We are now the norm. We are now part of this representation. Coco came out, and that won all the awards. And they featured a couple songs and stuff like that at the thing too. But this was different. I don't know, the way that they got the crowd involved, the way that they got Cardi B, the way that they got all these different aspects. And I've been thinking for a while about that question that you asked, and I'm like, I haven't seen that for Black representation. I really haven't. I really haven't seen that. I haven't felt that. I'm over here going like, oh yeah, it's great. Woo! And then like I look at my friends across the aisle, and it's like, that hasn't happened yet. And it's
it's sad because we've been fighting for so long to be recognized, and to be recognized for roles that aren't completely negative, that aren't attached to slavery or attached to being a bad cop, or do you know what I mean? And just as a woman, it's kind of heartbreaking because like the kind of roles that we win Academy Awards for are like so steeped in fucked up stereotypes that it like really, really irritates me. Right? You have Lupita Nyong'o, who won for 12 Years a Slave. You have she was just, I cannot think of her name. She was just in The Woman King, which was incredible. But like she won for being like a housemaid. And we've had Black women win for being a housemaid, right? You have Halle Berry, who won for Monsters Ball, and she played a horrible fucking person in that movie. She didn't care about her son. Her son dies, yet they've been in movies where they've been incredible, inspiring voices, and they don't get recognized for it. So when we did get awards for Black Panther, which I am still fucking pissed off that Angela Bassett did not win for that role. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah. She fucking
destroyed it.
And what she lost out to. That's what blew my mind. Not who she lost out to, because they're an incredible actor as well, but what she lost out to, like the role that she lost out to. And then the backlash that came with that, like, oh, she should be happy regardless. I was like, she's a fucking human being. She can be sad that she didn't win an Academy Award. You know what I mean? And there's just, it's ongoing. But to come back to what you're saying, I'm really happy that you got to feel that. I am beyond happy. Like that fucking makes my entire day, because that is why we are fighting for inclusion. That is why we're fighting for diversity, because everybody should feel that way. Everybody should feel that way, and not just for the first time. Encanto didn't come out that long ago. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that should be the norm. It shouldn't be the exception. And I hope that it's not like the only time that you feel that way, because we as a community deserve so much more. Just people deserve so much more. And it's time. It's time for that to happen. And I hope it does. I hope we're stepping in the right direction, and Hollywood's not just appeasing us. And when I say Hollywood, I also mean the game industry. They're not just appeasing us, because it's not going to work for much longer. Like, kids are smarter these days. And they're much more bold. Not more bold than like people who were watching, like marching on Washington and stuff like that. Cause I don't know if I could do that. It was crazy. But they're bold, and they're saying, and social media has really changed how a lot of things are coming across. So we got to hurt them in the pockets. It means stop putting money into things that aren't properly representing us, you know?
We also, I was saying, like, you want to do representation because you mean it to represent those people, and not because you're trying to appease social media and jump on the bandwagon as like the flavor of the week. Like, oh, if we put Black people in our movies and our games, that makes us look cool. Tokenism
is out. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you know, do it because you want to push in the right direction.
It now,
Yeah.
I hate to cut you all off, but I think that was a great point to kind of hit the end of the show because we are running a little long.
Sorry.
Absolutely. No, it's fantastic. And I'm glad that you were able to get out what you were just saying. Like that, I think that's a beautiful message for us to wrap on. I know we could keep going. I hate to do it. I hate to wrap us up.
No, it's okay.
But thank you so much, Dez. That was a fantastic conversation. I'm so glad that we were able to get all that out there and have those words. Like, I love the perspective. I love the insights. That's why I wanted this. This is why I needed you on the show. Thank you for sharing your platform. Yes.
You know, that really means a lot. And I hope you continue to do it and bring on all kinds of people to like share their stories because this is helping, you know, just getting the word. Even if a couple of people see it and it changes their mind about something, it's worth it.
Absolutely. And I'm happy to have you on the show. I would love to have you back on anytime you're up for it. I'm going to keep hitting you guys up for all the wonderful voices to come on and share with us because that's what I want. I need you guys here. Yes. All right, guys. Thank you once again, Dez, for coming today and sharing everything with us. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Louie. That was it, guys. All right. Woo. We'll see you all next week on Screen Smash. That's a lot to unpack. Good night.